So, why do we have all this postural disturbance? Because stress pollutes our perfectly designed posture and movement program. Pollutes it. Stress is what pollutes it. We're all designed to have that feeling of having that growth and expansion all the time, but you think an emotional thought, see what happened in my body? I had a happy thought. Did you see that little shift there? Does that happen all the time with different thoughts that you have? Or, you see what I'm saying? It's thoughts can basically determine what your posture is. So it's important to pay attention to your thoughts, like we talked about last week. Okay? Now, and that's what I talk about, sensory motor amnesia. You forget about this perfect design. Okay? So what this stress does is it creates very specific and predictable patterns. The patterns are not unlike the patterns of a cerebral palsy patient. See this? Up, in, okay? Polio. And you see this, and this is not exaggeration, it's exactly what it looks like. Now, fast forward, go into a nursing home, and what does it look like? Okay? It's just stress over a period of time has the exact same effect, except it happens slower and more insidiously, so you never know that's what caused it. Okay?
Look around at the mall as you're doing your Christmas shopping. It's fun.
Look at yourself first.
Well, I'm saying it helps you understand yourself.
Right, but now you have this awareness to just watch the pattern. The biggest pattern I see is that the first domino that starts to fall is when you start pulling yourself along versus pushing yourself along. Case in point, here you are. It looks like this, and I saw a guy outside of Target today walking. He was walking like this. I said, "Oh my gosh, his back's gonna be killing him." You know, he's walking like this. You know, he's a big guy, had a big belly, and he had extremely tight hips, but he was walking like this. I don't know if I can do it.
Now, how do you know he had extremely tight hips?
Because he wasn't.
Movement.
Well, watch.
Stride.
Yeah, his stride. He was doing short strides, and he was picking up his leg and pulling it. See that? His locomotion pattern was a pull. Not unlike the nursing home shuffle, right? So, versus, see my hip extension there? Okay? If he's doing this, that he's using his psoas muscle. That's a muscle that goes from here all the way up. Your psoas muscle goes from your lesser tuberosity of your femur, and some of it attaches in here to the ilium, and it goes up and attaches to every single one of your lumbar spine vertebrae, from L1 all the way down to L5, and it's this big piece of meat right there that you use to do this. So if you use that muscle every time you take a step, it's constantly dragging on your spine, pulling on your spine, pulling on your spine, pulling on your spine, throwing it into extension, extension, extension. And that's why I said, that poor guy's. And not only is it the joints, it's more about the muscles. Because when he's pulling here, every time he takes a step forward, when he picks up the other leg, he has to use, since he's not getting through here, whenever he comes through, he has to use his back to be able to come through. It's like he's pulling here, he's using his back and his psoas to get the job done. So it's just, you know, if I could have bounced a quarter off the back, without even seeing, I could have touched him and known that his erectors and his back were monsters because they're doing all the work. And it's not sharing the load properly.
Instead of the glutes.
Instead of the glutes. Instead of that push through. Because you get short hips and no push from behind. Okay? So, that's what I'm talking about. So he's demonstrating that same pattern of neurological dysfunction just because maybe he's been sitting at a desk his whole life and he's overweight, so he's got this really bad pattern of being forward, and now he can't get his hips through because his body is adapted for over so long to being like this.
Just like a long car ride.
Long car ride. What happens 3 hours after you get to the rest stop? It's like the first few steps. You know what it feels like. And then you finally get up to, you finally straighten up. But think about doing that 8 hours a day for your whole life at a desk job, or maybe you're a truck driver. Stuff like that. Or maybe you're a secretary. Anything where you sit all day long. So, case in point, lower cross and upper cross syndrome. Those are just two predictable patterns that you can get from stress. And that is, one is that I talked about the psoas getting short. When that gets short, then the erectors get short in the back. So you got this tightness, overload and tightness here. And when this is tight, the body likes to be in balance. So if the hip flexors are short, the hip extensors are going to basically shut off. Neurologically, they're going to shut off. Basically, and then you don't have any balance around your joints. So what we want to do in that point, so we get weakness here and weakness in the abdominals, right? This muscle lengthens, our abs get long and loose, our glutes get weak, okay? So we get flabby glutes and no abs, and we have tightness here and tightness here, and then we have back pain, and then we get prescribed an anti-inflammatory for the problem. Okay? So what's the solution?